Hey guys, how's it going? Today's episode, which is brought to you by my friends over at ariseapparel.com, is actually an answer to one of the questions that I received on live stream last week. And the question was this: what is the point of prayer? If God already knows the end from the beginning, He already knows the answers to the very things that we're thinking about, why should we even pray? What's the point of all this? So before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get into it. Let's see, what other kinds of questions? Because He lives, great question. Okay, what is the point in praying if God already knows what will happen? Okay, so this is a question I've asked myself many times, and I think many of us have resonated with this question before. What's the point of praying if God already knows the answers? So, no doubt, prayer does change circumstances. I would say even in certain stories of the Bible, it wouldn't be completely out of place to say that prayer actually even changes God's mind in certain cases. But I want to say in the vast majority of the time, prayer is not so much making God aware of our problems, right? A lot of times we pray, God, here's my problem, fix this problem, etc., 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 right? That's not what the majority of prayer is about, in my opinion. I think that the majority of times, prayer is less about us explaining ourselves to God and God explaining Himself to us. In other words, we should, in prayer, seek not to be understood, but rather to understand. Does that make sense? Prayer is about not God understanding you, but you learning to understand God better. And so what happens, practically speaking, a lot of times in our lives, we're struggling with challenges in our lives. We're struggling with different issues going on in our day-to-day life. And what happens is we feel like God doesn't know about this. God doesn't care. He doesn't really intervene. And so we pray with like this kind of vending machine attitude, like, God, I need to put in the right prayer combination so that way you fix my problem. But this is not really how it works. What prayer does is helps us to have a softer heart to understand what God might be trying to do in your present circumstance. So God is sovereign. Nothing happens without God's allowing it, without He's explicitly wanting it to happen, or at least Him allowing it to happen, right? And so whatever you're experiencing today, in a certain respect, God has kind of tested that and said, okay, this is something I'm allowed Justin go through. And so in those moments, one thing that I try to do is, rather than focus on my problems, focus on all the difficult things that are going on, I try and focus, all right, God, what are you trying to do right now? What are you trying to teach me in this moment? What are you trying to teach me as I'm going through this particular set of circumstances? And so what's the point of praying if God already knows? Well, the point is because we need to grow and we need to learn and understand in a good majority of those cases. And through prayer, God can communicate His will to us. God can communicate why He's allowing things to happen and kind of what our next step can be. So that's kind of my opinion on that. Well, there you guys go. Of course, these are just my thoughts. I'm interested in hearing from you guys. But if you'd like to see the entire 3-hour live stream with tons of other questions and answers, I will link it in the description bar below. Oh yeah, and if you agree with me that Ronan is in fact the cutest puppy in the world, give this video a thumbs up.